I discovered I was pregnant, but my husband remained silent as his mother insisted. Unless I can prove he is the father. I came to this subreddit because I need to share this, and it seems like I can't keep it to myself any longer. I've been crying for hours and feel utterly scared and exhausted. I might ramble a bit, but I just need to get this out somewhere. My husband and his family don't speak English, so this place feels safe to me. This morning I found out I'm pregnant. I don't know how long it's been, but I told my husband, and he seemed genuinely happy. He said he was glad and left to tell his parents. When I opened the door today, there they were, my mother-in-law and him. He hadn't mentioned she was coming, and he knows I don't handle unannounced visitors well, especially ones of such significance. It was only her second or third time in our apartment, but she acted like she owned the place. She ordered me to sit down, and I felt incredibly anxious. My heart was racing, and I felt so unsafe. I kept looking at my husband, hoping for some reassurance, but he avoided my gaze, staring at the floor or his hands. His mother immediately demanded a paternity test, right after congratulating me. It was awful. She didn't say anything overtly rude or offensive, but it felt like she was insulting me. It felt like she was calling me a prostitute. I was stunned, and I kept trying to get my husband to look at me, but he wouldn't. She noticed and told me to look at her, saying her son wouldn't help me. It was terrifying. She started threatening me with lawyers who are family friends. She said if I were smart, I'd go with her to the clinic tomorrow, and everything would be resolved. It was awful. I felt completely at her mercy. It was as if she could just reach out and do whatever she wanted to me, and my husband wouldn't protect me. What was most disgusting was the feeling that she had already violated me somehow, that she had tainted what was inside me. At that moment, whatever feelings I had for my husband died. After the initial shock and fear, all I felt was disgust. I felt sick, sitting there and seeing him so pathetic and silent, not protecting me. It was revolting to think I ever let him touch me, that all the love I had for him was tainted too. All I could manage to say was that I needed time to decide. She insisted there was nothing to decide. I told her I was shocked and needed time. She said that this was exactly what she was afraid of, and everything was clear to her. I felt like I might throw up. I wanted to cry so badly, my voice was shaking, but no tears came. She apologized, saying she was sorry it had to be this way, but she gave me 3 days. My husband stood up to see her out, not saying a word to me. He walked her to her car, and I was left alone. I immediately started crying. I felt so scared, like they could barge in and take the baby out of me if they wanted, like they thought so little of me. Did my husband always think I was cheating? Did they always look at me and think I was unfaithful? I tried to throw up several times because I was crying so hard. Why didn't my husband protect me? This isn't the man I married. The last time I felt this unsafe was at my parents' house, and I swore I'd never feel that way again. I married him because I thought he could protect me, but he didn't. I still feel sick and disgusting for letting him touch me, for being pregnant with his child. When I heard him come back, I locked myself in the bathroom and have been here ever since, crying. He hasn't said a word to me. I'm waiting for him to fall asleep so I can sleep on the couch in the kitchen. I never want to be in the same bed with him again. I might not be thinking clearly, but I want a divorce. I will never feel safe with this man, and I will never love him again. I know that for sure. I can't be sure he will protect me. I can't stay. The thing that terrifies me is that I want an abortion. It was the first thing I Googled. What's inside me is his. It ties me to him and his mother. I want it out. While I was crying, I scratched my stomach unintentionally, and now it's red and itchy. I can't think about what's inside me without breaking down in hysteria. I want out. I want to feel safe again. It's strange and cruel, but I don't feel bad for wanting a divorce. I will lose the future I envisioned and all my friends, and I'll have to start over, but I did it once when I left my parents' house. I can do it again. I feel nothing towards what's inside me. It just reminds me of his mother, and it scares me. I want it out. I never thought about abortion before, never really knew many pregnant people. Right now, I feel numb, but writing this post has helped me calm down and sort of figure out a plan. I don't know if I should move out first or see a doctor first. I'm scared they might lock me up if they find out. For some reason, this situation reminds me of the time I left my parents' house, and my head feels clearer. I'm not as panicked anymore, mostly just numb, though I was crying a lot earlier. I think that's all. I need to sleep and go to work tomorrow. That's good because it gives me an excuse to be out of the flat. I don't feel safe here. Thank you for listening. I have no one else to tell this to. Commercial_WorldCore 834. Get a paternity test, then get an abortion and file for divorce. If you get the abortion before the paternity test, they might twist it against you. He's a coward, and his mother will manipulate the situation to their advantage. I've looked into it and it seems paternity tests are typically done once the pregnancy is 9 weeks or further along. I'm not sure how far along I am because my stomach is still flat and I haven't felt sick. I've had pimples, intense cravings, soreness, and constant tiredness. I don't know which week that corresponds to. My work provides insurance, but I'm scared to use it. I worry they might find out somehow. The cost of the test and the initial doctor's appointment is high, but I have the money. What if I'm not 9 weeks yet? I don't want to wait. I just want it out. I don't care what they think. Everything feels so confusing. I can't seem to think about doctors, tests, and lawyers all at once. Update 1. Hello, everyone. First, I want to thank you all for your incredible support. I've never received so many comments and messages before. It's overwhelming and doesn't feel real. So many of you have reached out with advice and concern, and it has really helped me feel less alone. I'm sorry for not responding to everyone sooner. I was on the train earlier, trying to reply, but more messages kept coming in, and I couldn't keep up. I don't think I've ever interacted with this many people before. I'd also want to thank the person who posted a funny joke in the first few minutes after I shared my story. That joke helped me get through another bout of hysteria. I wanted to thank them, but their comment has been deleted. To save time for those who are worried about me, I'm okay. I'm still living with my husband, but I'm sleeping on the couch. I am pregnant, around 7 or 8 weeks along. I've talked with my husband, but the conversation didn't lead to any useful outcomes. I've decided to divorce him. I'm looking for apartments, though I haven't made any active moves yet. We are scheduled to go to the clinic on Friday to provide samples for the paternity test. I'm still unsure about the abortion. I feel very numb right now. That's the current state of things. Many people asked if I cheated and downvoted me for it. I think it's fair for them to ask since they don't know me, and I did mention it in my original post. This post was more about organizing my thoughts and pretending I was telling a friend my story, so I didn't include every detail. I didn't expect so many people to read it. To answer that question, I have not cheated. My husband was my first and only partner. That's why it was so disgusting to see his lack of reaction or comment, especially since he knows about this. I fear this might be a long situation, but there aren't many interesting updates, so you can stop reading if you were worried about me. I'm okay. Thank you. The first thing I want to say is that I feel strange. I don't really feel anything. From the moment I woke up on Monday to now, I felt very numb. Nothing feels real. There was a brief moment of emotion when I talked to my husband, but it was fleeting. It doesn't feel right, but I feel okay. It's like I'm a robot going through work and household tasks on autopilot. I think that's a good thing, maybe because I cried so much. My husband didn't leave the bedroom on Monday morning. He can work from home whenever he wants, so I think he chose to stay. I found myself slipping back into an old routine I used to have as a teenager, waking up and trying to be as quiet as possible, as if I didn't exist, so I wouldn't disturb anyone. It felt strange to revert to this behavior as an adult, but I couldn't force myself to act differently. So I left for work quietly without saying a word. I received a lot of support on the train, reading your comments. Thank you for that. I kept reading while at work, researching clinics and paternity tests. Many of your comments were very helpful, and I used them to make a plan. By noon on Monday, I started receiving comments from people asking me not to end the pregnancy. Many people suggested that I might be experiencing a trauma response and that I'm not thinking clearly. When I go to the ladies' room at work, I find myself placing my hands on my belly, trying to feel something, but I just feel as numb as ever. I don't really feel much except a slight sense of disgust when I think about this pregnancy, and I'm sorry about that. I've also started looking at apartments because, even though I feel numb, I strongly want a divorce or at least a safe place that's just mine. I can afford to move out now, and I can even manage to live on my own. I'll have to cut some luxuries like dance classes and beauty appointments, and I won't be able to save money, but that's okay. I think the panic I felt about leaving stemmed from when I left my parents. I had nothing. No money, no job, no diploma. I lived with 3 other people in a small apartment, and still didn't have enough for food. Realizing that I can live somewhat comfortably on my own has helped me calm down, and now I feel numb even about the divorce. For now, my plan is to move out after we give the samples for the paternity test. I'll probably have to wait until Monday or next Tuesday for my husband to go to the office, so I can pack my things. I also received messages suggesting that my reaction might be traumatic and that my husband is a victim too, with some comments implying that my view of him is sexist and that we need to talk. I was planning to talk to him regardless, but those comments helped me organize what I wanted to say. I'm sorry, but I'm too tired to recreate the whole conversation right now. I'll keep it brief. If anyone wants to read the full conversation, I'll try to write it tomorrow on my way to work. In short, I asked him if he thought I cheated. He said not initially, but my reaction to his mother made him question it. I explained that I reacted that way because I was scared. He insisted there was nothing to be scared of. We argued, and it led nowhere. I asked him why he didn't protect me and why he let his mother in. I found out that she gives him money for this flat, essentially paying for it, so she felt she had the right to come in whenever. I didn't know that, and it made me feel very unsafe, a feeling that still lingers. But I've committed to my plan and will go through with it. He didn't see his mother as scary or threatening, and we argued about things that seemed trivial. Because of these pointless arguments and some comments suggesting my expectations were unreasonable, I told him everything I thought about our situation, our responsibilities to each other, and my history of abuse. I had actually written down what I wanted to say before, intending to have this conversation later. But in that moment, I wasn't numb. I was angry, so I confronted him then. His responses were minimal, especially when I mentioned his mother, to which he just insisted she wasn't abusive and looked very tired. I laid out my terms. I agreed to the paternity test but made it clear I don't want to see his mother, be alone with her in this flat, or have her involved in any appointments. He agreed to these conditions. That's all I told him. I didn't mention divorce or my thoughts about abortion. I don't feel safe discussing those yet. Many comments suggested I should play along, and that's what I decided to do. I'm experienced in doing so. Later, we went to bed. He suggested I come back to our bedroom or stay there while he took the couch, but the idea of sleeping in our bed felt repulsive, so I declined. I overheard him speaking to his mother on the phone, but I couldn't make out the words. The next morning, I decided not to read any comments to have some time to myself. I wanted to use the day to understand how I feel about being pregnant. Sadly, I feel nothing. I felt nothing even during the appointment. Nothing seemed real, at the clinic or at home. It felt like it was happening to someone else. The doctor gave me recommendations, a list of medications, diet restrictions, and referrals to other doctors. All of it felt very alien, like I was playing a pretend game. I don't think what I'm feeling is okay, but having a clear mind helps, so I'm not overly worried about it. I've decided to give my husband until Monday to apologize or talk to me, anything really. If he doesn't, I will definitely divorce him. As for the baby, I won't decide anything until after I move out. I missed the window for a medical abortion via shot, and anything after that would be invasive. I don't really feel anything about being pregnant, so I'll wait and see if that changes. That's the plan for now. My husband's mother still makes me nervous. Thinking about seeing her again scares me. However, when I talked to my husband, he was very confident he could keep her away until the test results come back, so I don't know if my fears are reasonable. I might have forgotten something, and I'll reply to comments tomorrow morning. I want to thank everyone for their support and advice again. It really helped me because all my friends are his friends, so I couldn't tell anyone, and seeing so much support gave me courage. Thank you. Update 2. Hello everyone, this is an update to my post, which is now almost a month old. First, I want to thank you all for the support and apologize for not updating sooner. My previous update was deleted, and things just kept happening every day, leaving me too exhausted to rewrite it. The main reasons for the delay were not just the family drama, but also my job. My boss didn't give me a single day off, so I had to handle everything in the evenings or on weekends, which took a lot of time. December is a busy time in my line of work, so I often worked after hours. In short, I am no longer pregnant. I live in my own, very expensive apartment, but I am not legally divorced yet. I have lost all my friends and don't really have anyone left, but I'm okay. I don't want this to be long, so I won't repeat everything from the deleted update. If anyone is interested, I can copy and paste it in the comments. Writing down all that has happened feels like an impossible task, so please forgive me if some details are missing. I'll try to stay in the comments and answer any questions you have, as I feel I owe you that after all the support I received here. In short, I decided to stay with my husband and play along until I found a new flat, and got the paternity test done. My husband and I had a conversation. He refused to admit that his mother did anything wrong, told me I was acting guilty, and I found out that our flat has been paid for by his mother. My husband makes good money and could afford this flat, but he agreed to let his mother pay for it so he could have more money for himself. This revelation made me feel very unsafe and lied to. My husband promised that I would never see his mother again, but he lied to me. We had one doctor's visit scheduled with just the two of us. When I arrived at the clinic for the paternity test, my husband wasn't there, but his mother was. I feel shame just thinking about it. I couldn't control my emotions at all. I called him crying, and he said he didn't break his promise because it wasn't a real doctor's visit. It was just a blood test. He was late to the appointment. I was alone with his mother in the room, and I cried the entire time. The nurses treated me poorly, not talking to me and only addressing her, making faces whenever I made any noise. Looking back, I understand why they acted that way. It must have seemed like I was a young, foolish girl who cheated and was now paying the price for her actions. But I couldn't help it. I had another episode where I was consumed by panic, with no coherent thoughts, unable to control my emotions. Later, I found out that his mother also paid for the test. I still don't understand why he has enough money for this, but I suspect it's because he has been using his mother's funds. After taking me home, he told me that I acted very inappropriately and that he feels ashamed because he can't invite his mother to our home. He also said that my behavior makes him question whether he wants to stay married to me. Now, I feel even more thankful for his comment. It snapped me out of my panic state. I felt a lot of shame for wanting a divorce, but this helped me realize that it is the right decision. In my last update, I mentioned how it felt like I wasn't fully present, as if all of this was happening to someone else. People told me that I was dissociating. This state caused me to make mistakes at work, so I couldn't get a day off. Honestly, I prefer to stay dissociated because it was better than being constantly panicked and anxious, which had been my state in the past few weeks. I thought that once my husband and his mother got the test results and confirmed my fidelity, they would leave me alone, but I was wrong. When they learned I was faithful, things got much worse. His mother basically moved in with us. It was hell. She started texting and calling me incessantly, demanding to know when I would be home. In a way, I'm glad my job is so demanding because it gave me an excuse to avoid contact with her during work hours and to do things after work without her getting suspicious, since I typically work more than 10 hours a day during busy months. However, I still had to sleep and spend evenings and weekends at home, and it was unbearable. She was with me all the time. She even waited outside the bathroom door for me and knocked when I took too long. My husband said that she felt sorry and wanted to show me that she cares because I looked troubled. To me, it didn't feel that way. Her presence made me so anxious that I couldn't do anything. She started cleaning, cooking, and taking over everything, and she wasn't kind about it. She'd also forced me to sleep in the same bed as my husband, and those nights were horrible. I don't want to remember them at all. Thankfully, I moved out after 1.5 weeks. However, because it's New Year, the flats are very expensive. I can't stay in the flat. I'm renting right now long term. If I manage to make it until the end of spring, I might be able to rent something more affordable. But I will need to find something cheaper, though not as cheap as flats will be in the summer after 3 months. I will wait and see. Because of the situation with his mother, I only took the most important things. Most of my clothes, books, and little things I like stayed behind, and I probably won't get them back, but I'm okay with it. When I moved, I simply texted my husband, telling him that I didn't feel comfortable with him, disliked how our life had turned out, and didn't want to live with his mother constantly present, which is why I wanted to separate. He sent me a lot of texts, and his mother did too, but I haven't opened any messages from her since moving. It feels really good knowing I can just delete them. My husband was very angry. He called me many hurtful things and said a lot of unpleasant stuff. Reading those messages made me cry. When he asked if I wanted a divorce, I told him that having to sleep in the same bed with him again and endure his touch made me realize that not only do I no longer love him, but I feel disgusted by him. He told me that either I cheated and got pregnant by him by chance or that I am completely wrong as a human being. It was really messed up. To be honest, I agree that it's not normal to fall out of love so quickly, but I don't know why this happened. I guess I truly am someone who is very unwell. My husband demanded daily updates on my pregnancy from me and his mother, but by then, I was certain I want an abortion, so I had to move quickly. I won't go into detail about what happened, but I would like to offer advice. Get someone to be with you while going through that. Thank you to everyone who gave me that advice. It made a significant difference. The first time I tried to get the procedure, the woman at the reception told me I needed my husband's written consent, and it sent me into a panic. I couldn't think clearly. Later, after receiving advice from some people here, thank you so much, I searched for groups that help women in difficult situations, and one of them connected me with a volunteer who stayed with me through the process. She explained that it's not legal for them to ask for that consent, and that there are many tricks used to make women waste time. Without her, I would have been so lost. I am incredibly thankful. Many people were invested in my pregnancy and told me I should keep it, suggesting that my desire for an abortion was a trauma response and that I would feel guilty and regretful afterward. I understand they meant well, and I'm sorry to say this, but I don't feel bad at all. Despite the pain and a lingering feeling of illness, which I still have today, I felt so much better mentally after the procedure. I focused a lot on the divorce, thinking it would end my state of panic, but it turned out that ending the pregnancy was what I truly needed. I know it sounds harsh, but I want to be honest. If my desire for the abortion was a trauma response, then this child doesn't deserve a mother who is so deeply unwell, someone who can't control when they freeze in fear or who can fall out of love so suddenly. I don't believe I would be a good mother to anyone right now. And I'm certain that my husband's mother does not deserve to have children in her care. I was emotional at the time, but now I am convinced she is cut from the same cloth as my own parents. I should have seen it earlier. I'm still processing why I didn't recognize it sooner, and why I didn't see the kind of person my husband would become, but I need some more time to reflect on that. I texted my husband to let him know that I'm no longer pregnant, and for now, I'm ignoring his calls and texts. I just can't deal with that right now. As I mentioned, all my friends were his friends, and his mother posted about my pregnancy on her Instagram without my permission, so they all knew and probably know that I ended it by now. Some of our friends, mostly women, reached out to offer support after I moved, but now, no one texts me, and a couple of them have even unfollowed me on Instagram. I knew this would happen, and I'm okay with it. I never really had friends. I was always a bit of an oddball, but having people to talk to and hang out with was nice. It makes me sad to think about what they must think of me now, but these weren't truly my friends, so I have to move on. That's all I have on my mind for now. I probably forgot some things again. I'm mostly in bed today, trying to recover because I have to work next week with overtime. Thank you again for all your well wishes and advice. You really helped me feel less alone through all of this. I wish you all happy holidays, and I hope yours are nice, fun, and spent the way you want.